Well, thank you everyone for joining us. I'm really quite excited to be able to do this and to offer this. We've been trying to organize this for quite a while. And our schedules are just so busy, and I'm sure everyone else can totally relate because life is just busy in general. But yeah, so I'm really excited to be able to bring Jennifer Muller onto our call today, where we'll be talking a little bit about how we're integrating our therapies. We're actually doing like referral partnerships with other therapists as well. But for those who don't know me, my name is Rhonda Muller. I'm in North Queensland, up in the Whitsundays, and we're preparing at the moment for Cyclone Kirrily. So hopefully it's nothing too dramatic. But yeah, so for those who do know me, you will be fully aware that I have that passion and that purpose to be able to seek out other like-minded people, especially therapists who have that first-hand experience, because it makes a world of difference. But definitely that team approach, that integrative approach. And so when I talk about integrative approach, for those who don't know, I'm a nutritional therapist, and I predominantly work with women and children and pediatric special needs, mental health, gut health, fatigue, anti-aging. That's my gig. And that integrative approach is I focus on the nutrient therapy side of things. And then to me, it's really important to be able to bring in people that can, I'm just going to admit some more people. They're all coming in a little bit late, and that's all good. So being able to have that integrative approach. So once we have the nutrient therapy side of things starting and in place, then we layer all the other therapies on top, which quite frankly, once we've identified what's going on, and we start to remove what's harming and replenish with what's healing, then start layering all the therapies on top, these therapists look like absolute legends. So that leads me into introducing Jennifer. For those who don't know Jennifer, we were introduced by a mutual client. So I had heard about the work that Jennifer was doing, but I wasn't sure who she was or where she was located or anything. So it's the beauty of, those referrals. Like, I'm sure you, Jennifer, you're getting referrals left, right, and center from health professionals, from clients, etc. And I'm the same. I have clients worldwide. Distance is not an issue with technology like this. It's beautiful. But yeah, so I just want to say thank you for joining us, Jennifer, and allowing, because I know your time is really busy, so allowing this half an hour for us to catch up. So I really just wanted to touch a little bit in regards to the work that we do. That's it's a mutual relationship. Like, we really focus on developmental health and developmental skills. So emotional, cognitive, speech and language, emotional regulation, behavioral regulation, memory, reducing stress. So yeah, Jennifer, do you want to just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are and
Yeah,
where you
sure.
are.
Sure. Well, I'm down the coast from you, so I think the cyclone might not get as far as us. Um, but I got involved in all of this because we have a child that our youngest child really struggled with learning disabilities, and we took him over to Canada to special cognitive brain school over there, and that's where I got introduced to all of this and realized um, how important the auditory system is. It's a huge piece of the puzzle. And I love what you said, Rhonda, about yours being foundational. And it really is. These kids and anyone who's got these problems is a puzzle, and no one comes with the recipe book. So if you can find out the sort of, we used to call them in Canada the heavy hitters. So the things that really make a difference. And nutrition is right up there. It is number one, really. And then addressing the auditory and the visual are another two huge ones, for just general homeostasis. Because often if these things are not working well for a person, it's very confusing for them. So what I do essentially is the Tomatis method, which stems from the work of Dr. Tomatis in Paris. And I do the safe and sound protocol as well, which stems from the United States. Dr. Porges from the polyvagal theory. So Tomatis is an active listening program. So what we really are doing is we call it ear aerobics. We're strengthening those little muscles of the inside of the ear, and really also strengthening and building those neural pathways to the brain for better processing. Because if sound is coming in all jumbled, it's very confusing for the brain. And because the ear is so closely connected, and sound, of course, is so closely connected to our bodies, that can leave that person in a huge state of anxiety and confusion, and they get overwhelmed, and all of the things that come with that. And that's what Tomatis method is very good with, is reorganizing, retraining, strengthening for more efficiency, basically.
Yeah.
And
I love how you're talking about, like, in regards to, the processing, because, that's something that I work with every single day. And one thing I see is within that processing, sometimes there's might be food sensitivities or intolerances, or things like that, even bacterial, the gut-brain connection. And so that processing speed can actually be muted or even really delayed. So I love how you incorporate that.
Yes, no, that's so true. And I mean, another side effect, one could call it, is our ears are really strong sensory organ. And one of the things we see a lot of with children that are very picky eaters, and parents really struggle to get nutrition into them and to get decent food into them. That changes. We very often see they get more curious, and they'll try different things, and they sort of, and that's where we can also say, like, their world expands. So if you're really stuck in your ways, only ever eating one thing, and you start to experiment, well, there immediately your world is expanding. So that's the Tomatis method. And the Safe and Sound is a more passive approach, and that's Dr. Porges. And he actually had a wonderful quote, and he said, if you really want to make a difference in the world, start by making people feel safe. And his method is all about the ventral vagal, bringing that vagus nerve, using the ear to access the vagus nerve and bring that autonomic nervous system into a better state, and being able to regulate. Because often people are sitting too much in that sympathetic, and then that go like that, and they find it very difficult to regulate and come back into the parasympathetic, which is our sort of calmer state. So we need both, but we don't need to be sitting in that heightened state all the time. So that's got a lot to do with the safety part of it. And both of these therapies, we just use headphones, and we're using the music as a tool through here to access the body and the brain. And both of them are, the Safe and Sound comes in through an app, and the Tomatis method comes in through with a little device. They are changing it this year to be a higher tech, so that it's going to be on an app. So that's basically what we do. And like, sort of, who do we do it for? That's what I'm often asked, like, who can benefit from this?
Yeah, like, because a lot of people I've been fortunate. I started to hear about, the hearing therapy, etc., back in 2009, 2010. But some people might be brand new to it. So yeah, who would you be working with? Is it predominantly women, children, adults, or both? Is there a particular diagnosis or some kind of symptoms or conditions?
Yeah, so I mean, my clientele is quite vast, pretty much if you've got an ear and a brain, we can do something. But we go from older people who want to just simply do personal development. And I mean, I've had many older people who are sort of starting to maybe struggle with their memory, or they notice that their hearing is not in sync enough, and they're just getting confused. And what we can do with them very often is, by retraining their auditory system, we take away a lot of the fog, really, for those people. We can never rebuild those hair cells that they've lost, that they might have lost through hearing loss, but we can certainly take away the distortion. And then how I got involved in this was basically learning difficulties, children that had problems with learning. So those, my first few years I worked very closely with the Arrowsmith program in the school in Vancouver. And there were 100 kids at that school, and I worked with a lot of them. So I got a lot of experience very early on with children who have all sorts of learning issues. And, essentially what we're doing is we're training listening function. So how do you listen on a normal day? And what happens when we listen? It's different to hearing. Yes, you can hear, but can you really listen? Can you really pay attention? And what is that message? In which way is that message coming to the brain, and how does the brain process it? And it really fills me with empathy when you test these people and see what their listening function is. It's like, well, no wonder his eyes are out the window. The teacher's just going blah, 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 because he's not captivating that auditory content, or else it's coming in really jumbled. And it's, he's sitting in a washing machine. So now he's in a noisy classroom and he's sitting in a washing machine. So he's either going to misbehave, always be going to the loo, shut down completely, switch off, eyes out the window. There's a lot of things that go with that. So we always ask the why, like, what can we do to help this person be able to sit down and pay attention? And that's a huge part of the Tomatis method. So we build by constantly surprising the brain. We are building those attention mechanisms through the gating system, which is pretty much the soul of the Tomatis method. So the sound comes in through air and bone conduction and the way that it's delivered. And also, it's good to know that this is tailored. Like, it's not a generic thing. We really tailor according to what we are targeting and what the goals of that person are. And it's progressive. So, we put on we up the pressure as they go along, and, monitoring, of course, all along the way. And then that neurodiverse sort of population is also a big part of our clientele now, more so than when I was in Canada. And again, you take an autistic person, for example, and you almost 9 times out of 10 will find that they're picking up sound too quickly through their bone conduction. So their environment is bombarding them all the time. And we want the air and the bone conduction to come in at the same time, send a nice clear message to the brain, and then the brain can figure out what it's going to do with that message. But if it's coming in too much and they're picking up too much in their bone conduction, then, for example, there's a fan going outside the window here. If my system wasn't working well, that fan, then the vibration from the fan is overtaking my body. So now all I can think about, it's very intrusive into this conversation. So that makes it very difficult for that person to pay attention and be present. And that's why you often find, say your autistic people, for example, struggle in a busy shopping center because there's just too much going on and they're picking up too much through their bodies, just disorganized. So that's how we can really help. So then, like with Rhonda's foundation of getting the gut working well for that person, and then we come in and retrain and reorganize that acceptance in their sound world. You can start to see how that would be helpful for that person, and then their things start to open up for them, and they can be more present and they can be more relaxed. Because if they're picking up too quickly through bone, that the brain is getting a message, because bone conduction is very quickly, that something's coming, but it hasn't got there yet. And it's like, oh my God, something's coming and I haven't, what's going on? So that's how you get really anxious. And that's what we train in Tomatis, is to bring that bone down so that it's in sync with itself. So yeah, and then how do we really do it? So with this music, we're using the ear as the doorway and the music as the tool. So the music literally is just a tool, and it's mostly classical music. In Safe and Sound, they've got some really nice tracks for the kids, particularly. They've got sort of from Disney music, Disney movies, and that music is filtered according to the Safe and Sound protocol. And that's a much shorter program that's like the core of that is a 5-hour program, which is specifically designed to prepare them for other therapies or to enhance their other therapies. Tomatis is a bigger commitment. One does these 2-week intensive sessions where you do daily listening for 2 weeks. And then because we're stimulating, and that's what we're doing, we're stimulating the brain, we need to allow for an integration period. So we have a rest period. And that's usually about a month. And then we sort of either retest or we revisit our goals and we go according to what that particular client needs. And we'll do another one, and we call that an intensive session. So that will be another 2-week session. And so we go. And, again, there's not one size fits all. So we go according to what we're chasing.
Yeah, I love that. And I think obviously we could be here for a whole week to talk about everything that we do and, and some of the testimonials, etc., the feedback that we get. But I'm all aware, time is of the essence type of thing. We need to get some information across. So for people who want to actually do a little bit more research or want to find out, where you are, how they can get in contact with you, do you have a website? Can you share that with us?
The best thing is my website, Music and Mind Therapy.com, I guess, .com.au. Yes. And all the information.
So you're saying music and
Mind Therapy.
Mind, MIND?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Therapy. Music and Mind Therapy.com.au.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, beautiful. And do you offer like a free intro or a free chat?
Yes, I'm pretty liberal with my time when people call me, and because I'm very aware that people are usually in it's not easy. It's really not easy being a parent to a child who struggles, and that's one of the reasons I'm doing counselling. So it's in the not too distant future, a couple of months now, and I'll be graduated in my counselling as well. Taking that in mind. But yes, if people phone me, then we have a chat first. That's the first step.
Beautiful, beautiful. For me, I think it's, and I want to say thank you again for making the time to do this, because to me, it's really important being a parent of a child that was severely autistic, diagnosed in May 2008, level 3 nonverbal. I know what it's like. I know how challenging it is to try and find information or even people that understand, that get what you're going through, and to be able to, have that experience, that firsthand experience, and then, we see a need. It's the old saying, see a need, fill a need. And we don't want anyone else to go through the same challenges as what we did or our babies went through. So yeah, I just want to say thank you again for bringing this to the people. Something that really resonates with me is in regards to like the gut health, because that's what I'm really passionate about, that gut-brain connection. And with the gut, if that's not working properly, if we're born depleted in regards to nutrients, or we have bacterial imbalances, etc., then that is going to be compromising the blood-brain barrier as well, which is our force field, stopping pathogens, etc., seeping through. If we have food sensitivities or bacterial imbalances, that's going to create a lot of mucus, ear, nose, and throat problems. So yeah, I think it's really important. For example, I'm not sure if people are aware, but like my mum, she turned 78 just the other day, and we look back at the statistics. For example, autism, for one example, it was 1 in 10,000 when she was a little girl.
Wow, yeah.
And now it's 1 in 32. And that's not just because it's better diagnostic. There's something significantly going on in regards to our environment. Because I'm seeing in clinic, each generation is becoming weaker and weaker. And that's not just with children on the spectrum. We're talking about focus, concentration, mood, their behavioral regulation, they're not coping, all these things. And so if we've got inflammation of the body, and inflammation should be just a little pilot light and just flares up into that flamethrower when we have some kind of infection, viral or bacterial infection. But unfortunately, that flamethrower is not coming back down. It's staying elevated. And then that creates, that additional ear, nose, and throat problems. So they're not able to hear properly, a lot of ear infections, a lot of antibiotics, and that's then damaging the microbiome, the gut health even further. So it's that real vicious cycle. So if we can, what I see in clinic is that if we can address, looking at what they're eating, what is their nutrient status by identifying, doing the functional testing, the blood serum, plasma, urine, stool analysis if required, for identifying what bacteria is there, their absorption rates, their digestion, etc. Once we get that down pat, I've seen the villi of the small intestine actually lengthen. That has been damaged through celiac disease because we're removing what's harming and replenish with what's healing. So if we can, I'm not saying we're going to, cure or, mitigate any kind of disease or condition, but if we can do that with the small intestine, the villi, imagine what we can do with those hair cells that are in the ear. So there's just so many things that we can do in regards to supplementation or helping the body work as nature intended, flicking back on those natural survival genes so they're not being overexpressed or underexpressed, which leads to disease and conditions. So yeah, I just think, a lot of people today have many food sensitivities, a lot of nutrient imbalances. They're lacking a lot of essential minerals and vitamins, a lot of beneficial bacteria. So if we can start to get that sorted, and then pour in all the other therapies, whether it be speech therapy, occupational therapy, the cognitive therapies, movement therapies, all these types of things. It's just like, yeah, watch our babies fly. That's my logo. It's a little person with wings, and that's my whole goal, is to help them reach their true potential. So yeah, and like, I'm not sure some of the feedback in regards to when you're referring clients to me, in regards to we're putting all the nutrient therapy into place. Yeah, it's really quite remarkable. We're seeing changes within 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So what about your clients, in regards to your programs are, within like 3, maybe 6 months or so, but if someone's really coachable, they're motivated, when are you starting to see some positive changes?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's difficult to predict, but very often that first intensive session is huge, and then we build on that. So I'll give you an example of a young guy. He's 22. He's got an intellectual disability, and his world is tiny. He likes to be in his room, and he paces. Anyway, he's done one intensive now, and last week he's just finished his first. And last week, for the first time ever, he went into the ocean. And that is such a big thing because there's so much going on. His family's never been able to even get him on the beach. And he went down and he was prepared to dip his toes in the water, and then he liked it, and then he sat down. And I mean, that's an example of what, and his programming was very body related and very vestibular related, which is all about the body. And so that sensory, he was prepared to give it a go, first of all. And I mean, the whole point of that story is, look how his world has changed. So there's an activity that they can do with him, and he can do and enjoy. So his quality of life has changed. And we will continue to work with him, but he has literally done 2 weeks.
Yeah, wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. And that's what we want. We want people to have that quality of life, to be able to reach their true potential, so, and for me, obviously age is not an issue, and I'm sure that's the same with you as what you've explained. But for me, I get so excited when I have little children coming to us. So when a mum reaches out and saying there's something not quite right, or we've received a diagnosis, because autism is my passion, recovering my son, where his official diagnosis was removed 8 years after his diagnosis, was never something I wished for. I just wanted him to be happy, to be healthy, to get through school, get a decent job, meet the girl of his dreams, and give me lots of grandkids, because I've got two with one on the way. And I say to all four children, may you be blessed with many children, because it's all about me now, right? But yeah, that's all we want, isn't it? We really just want them
Absolutely.
to be happy and healthy.
Yeah.
So yeah, the to me, having that integrative approach, having, whether it's, the speech therapist, occupational therapist, whatever it might be, if we're all on the same path, working towards the family's goals, it can be extraordinary. For me, I've seen results within 2 weeks, where I had this young family at the Whit Sundays, and the mum reached out to me. She was just, yeah, at a wit's end. The eldest boy, I think he was 8, on the spectrum, Asperger's, and so very high functioning, but he was just, the emotional regulation was just all over the show, and it would be nothing for him to lash out at his younger brother. So it was at the point where the younger brother was just scared of him. And within 2 weeks of no changes in regards to diet, but just activation, helping reduce oxidative stress and get the mitochondria working properly, the focus, concentration, the stress regulation, everything just came down. And all it was just herbal supplementation. And it was just three tablets, one tablet and two, sorry, for his age and weight. Actually, it was only a quarter of one tablet and a quarter of one other capsule. And within 2 weeks, totally different family dynamics. She was then able to be, she was less stressed. So then able to start to incorporate all of the food changes, the testing, because asking her to do that when all of this was overwhelming, it was just too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and even I've got another a client where he was 7, no diagnosis, but he was 7. He didn't like to be touched. He really struggled with focus, concentration, and yeah, within 3 weeks, totally different boy. He was sitting on his mum's lap. She was, patting him on the back while they were reading. So yeah, it's just fantastic.
And
Yeah.
I can really see, like you painting a picture now, and then the snowball starts and other things start to fall into place. And I mean, just from what you've said, you can see how much better, and how it marries into what I do.
Yes.
Is now we can really start to work on him. Now we can get his attention. We can tweak it. He's prepared to be in the moment and not just exploding all the time. And again, we always ask the why. Nobody's born wanting to be a pain in the neck. There's something
Yes.
going on. So we
Yeah.
can help. We really can help.
Yeah. Once we identify what's underlying,
Mm.
yeah, there's amazing things. Absolutely. Well, look, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. For those who don't, who want to learn a little bit more about me, my business is ASD Healthy Life, and I do offer free intro appointments. I offer a free 15 to 30-minute intro appointment. So if you're seeing this video, there will be a link down the bottom of the video where you can click on that. It takes you straight to the contact page, and then you can schedule your preferred day and time. And we just go over what your concerns are, what your goals are, anything in particular that you'd like to get on top of or change. And it doesn't have to be, autism. Autism's definitely my gig. The baby boy that I've recovered, who no longer fit the criteria. And like I said, my goal was never to cure or change him. I just wanted him to be happy and healthy and reach his true potential. But he's 19 this year, and he academic awards throughout school, just a totally different child from being diagnosed just before his 3rd birthday, sitting in the corner, bashing his head on the ground, non-responsive, non-verbal. His bowels would not open, went from a smorgasbord of food down to just 5 foods, to a beautiful young man. I look up at him now. He's like 6'1", looks exactly like his father. He's just gorgeous, and a successful young man. So That's all we want. We don't want to change anyone. We just want to be able to help them to get through life and yeah, and have a purpose. Because if we don't have a purpose in life, we feel like we're floundering. So yeah, thank you so much. And again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to get back to us and we can go from there. Thank you for your time, Jennifer.
Yes, thanks for having me. That was fun.